Welcome to my Forza Horizon 5 retrospective. Done a fair few videos on the game, but all in all, I haven't really talked about it much in years, since not long after it came out. So I figured as Horizon 6 comes out, and I will do a video on Horizon 6, maybe even the next video on the channel. Might as well kind of put a cap on Horizon 5. All things considered, Horizon 5 is an amazing game. And pretty much all of the flaws that are generally talked about, I agree with. The story mode is kind of dull, it's over microtransaction-y, it's a lot of the same as other Horizon games, and the map sort of kinda ain't the best. I'm not as hard on the map as some other people. Some people say, oh, the map was just made for the Eliminator and therefore the roads suck, blah blah blah. I enjoy the sandbox, just screwing around and like driving off road and all that too. Yeah, some of the roads maybe aren't as good as some of the other games, but overall of the map. Say this, the only two I've played is Horizon 5 and 4, and I like the map in 5 better than 4. I like, well, this might be controversial, but everything either the same or better in 5 than 4, and those are the two that I've played. Except for, well, the rest of the title of the video, yeah. In the game Capitalism. I'm not gonna go super in depth or philosophical or however you want to word it, because I'm not even super knowledgeable of how to word it myself. But generally speaking, there's the term of late stage capitalism, and a lot of people say that's what the United States is in. Some people say the world on average is even in that, and essentially that means where the money isn't in what's being produced anymore, it's in the people themselves. It's getting money from the people, and the people are the product, not actually the quality of the goods and services being made. And yeah, folks, I would say Horizon 5 is such a good example of it. It's even beyond late stage to outright end the game. Because honestly, I think Horizon 5 is more what killed Turn 10 than Forza Motorsport, or 8, really. Yeah, of course, to burn it to the ground and then making it Forza Motorsport and not just 8 certainly didn't help. That was a major lie that did them in pretty bad. But to some extent, I kind of think that ended up being on purpose. They wanted to go ahead and completely kill Turn 10, having any games, maybe ever again. So then they can partner with Playground to make Horizon 6 the big moneymaker. We kind of see this with modern capitalism, where a parent company will just divide funds among the companies it owns to the point of it looks like it's a big investment in this company or whatever, and more strides are being made in this particular thing than ever before, blah blah blah, to make the stock price go up or whatever it may be. And yeah, that's really only the tip of the iceberg. That's just kind of my conspiracy theory, and not tons of people really talked about that. But one of the reasons I'm kind of formatting this video in the way that it is, because a lot of people have talked about a lot of the stuff with Horizon 5, and a lot of the stuff with Horizon 5, I can't even really talk all that much different than others. Many other people have done a much better job in terms of the atmosphere or the specifics about the story or the customization or pretty much any and all things that you want to put there. So my view on it is, well, I don't have all that much money, and I don't really have all that much interest in spending what little money there is with modern video games. I've discussed both of those in previous videos, so I'm not going to go tons in detail about specifics there because that's kind of retreading. But I will kind of give the caveat of like what I've talked about before. It's kind of like ground rules for this. So yeah, when the only money that I've spent in years with video games is not even directly on a video game, it's on a phone. It says something right there. And the main thing they've used the phone for, video game wise, is playing Gran Turismo PSP. So take that as you may as well. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the modern gaming industry, and with Forza Horizon 5, it in a lot of ways is the best of the modern gaming industry. Best graphics, best physics, best car list. Yeah, there's a genuine argument that it is, at least for modern games. Like, I wouldn't really call Drive Club or GT6 a modern game, and those are ones that put at tops of the other things, so there's that, folks. And yeah. So now into like the capitalism thing to kind of go and review the miscellaneous parts of the game. But again, a lot of people have discussed it in better ways. In terms of specifics, this is kind of just more general than Jason. The graphics are the only thing that don't really go tons in to the in-game capitalism because I mean the graphics are pretty consistent from when the game came out to when it ended. Yeah, the graphics are amazing, fair enough. They put tons of money into it, but I mean, I guess in a way you kind of tie that to capitalism because, like, on the surface level, yeah, you could say that capitalism is doing amazing. Look at how good the stock market is as of the time of recording this video on, I don't even know the date, was it May 13th, I think. Yeah, so the stock market's doing good on May 13th. We'll see about that. And you could say that, oh, look at the richest people in the world, they're getting even richer. So you could say that, look at the richness of the graphics and look at the fidelity and the frame rate and the blah, 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 blah. Folks, I mean, I'm legally blind, so I might not be the best one to say for graphics, but I mean, in my opinion, the 12-year-old Drive Club doesn't look far from it, and in some ways, even better still. So there's that, folks. But anyway, kind of sort of the rest of it's pretty direct with the in-game capitalism. To begin with, the economy of the game, that's most straightforward. Yeah, that actually started out pretty well in communism or capitalism. Even I'm confusing myself, but there were elements of communism in there. That's where I meant to say capitalism first. But if anything, it was kind of starting out with communism. In a way, it kind of wanted to give everyone an equal start and giving everyone the cars to begin with. Like, everyone ended up not just getting the one car they picked of the three, they ended up getting the three early on. Like, in the story, there was, what, the Super and the Bronco and something else as well. Like, everybody ended up getting all of them, and the choices didn't really matter too much early on, so in a way, it was almost communism early on. But the capitalism went into full effect pretty well if you knew how to spend your money in the right things, like with the right upgrades and stuff. Even pretty early on, you could do quite well. It was pretty straightforward, rags to riches, if you knew what you're doing. You could use the right upgrades, you could beat the AI a whole heck of a heap. If you use the right upgrades and tunes and stuff, you could have the AI to the max difficulty, which earned you more money, and or then you could play online and beat more people to earn more money. And then as you drive, you get skill points, and if you put those to right things, that would earn you money or wheel spins or whatever it may be, whatever you wanted to put the skill points into. And there were actually optimum ways in which to do the skill points themselves. So that was actually one of those things, if you wanted to play Horizon 5 kind of like as a get rich type simulator, life simulator, however you want to word it, actually worked, because there was even houses and cosmetic upgrades and things like that. Like, you could get the fancy clothes, you could get the fancy house and all that sort of thing, sort of like Test Drive Unlimited in a way. So there was that if you wanted to. Granted, that was also somewhat like that in other Horizons as well. Again, I have a little bit of experience in 4 and well over 1,000 hours. I'm not even certain exact amount in 5. So there's that. So yeah, the economy of the game actually started out quite great. Granted, there were immediately people hacking, which you could say was always kind of an exploit of capitalism. There would always be people trying to do some evil things and get their way, and sometimes they were caught, sometimes they weren't. You could say that of any and all stages of capitalism at any point. The most straightforward example with Forza is go on the leaderboards. Pretty much any of the like leaderboard type stuff, you ended up getting it hacked in terms of the PR stunts, even some of the time trials for the various tracks. All of the PR stunts were hacked, quite a few of the time trials, so that wasn't exactly the dandiest of things. But all things considered, it wasn't awful. There were other games out there that had a whole heck of a heap of hacking than Forza, especially with it being fully on PC by that point too. Horizon 5 released like on PC as well as Xbox, so whatever. Not awful there, but it could definitely be a lot better. That's for sure. So now into the progression of the game as a whole, like how they actually brought updates and well, paid stuff too. In terms of the updates for the game in general, that was a pretty good progression, especially to start out. Initially, they would have like the Horizon um, open tour that I like to do, where there would be different events per hour. And for the first few months, those events would be like the same per hour or whatever. So you could time it to where if you wanted to do an event, say on like whatever, 32 or 36 or like 02 or whatever, like I think it was in 2 minute intervals on the hour. You could do it like that. And then after a few months, they updated them and it would go along with that. So then you could build your car for a specific event outright dominate, or you just kind of do it when you get there and see how good it ends up doing. And the way that actually ended up working is it was a true tour type thing, like in the name. You would literally go from event to event. So there was open worldness too, so you could not just worry about the racing itself. It was just fun to ride along with the players that you were in from one thing to another. So that was kind of a nice bonding thing in a way. That kind of goes with capitalism. A cool thing early on that actually bonded people and made it more about the people and less about the corporations and stuff like that. But then the paid stuff ended up happening. That ended up being directly corporate. A lot of that added vanity items that people had to pay real money for. It added body kits. It added wheels. It added clothing. Yeah, that wasn't the dandiest. A lot of the specifics, again, I can't remember. You can look on other channels more specifics. But yeah, that ended up getting kind of later into the capitalism thing where you could say, oh, it's making the corporation's money and then trickle down effect or whatever. Maybe the argument could be made. So, like, maybe midway through Horizon 5's life, yeah, sort of, kind of, you could make that argument. But even by then, it seemed like in a lot of ways the writing was on the wall because nothing was particularly improving towards the players, towards the consumer, however you want to word it. It just went more and more corporate as it went on. And then, I don't know if it was directly in the timeline, but one of the things pretty soon after was the Hot Wheels DLC again. Horizon 3 had a Hot Wheels DLC. 2 games later, Hot Wheels DLC. It cost a whole heck of a heap of real money. Yeah, a lot of people who played it said it was a little bit better here and there, but that's kind of what you could say about the games as a whole. Each Horizon got slightly better, and this or that, and overall it was a slight improvement, but was it really worth paying complete money for a slight upgrade, whatever it may be, whether it's the DLC or the whole game? Well, that's to be decided now, ain't it? So this was pretty far on into Horizon 5, and overall, that Hot Wheels DLC, I guess, wasn't particularly a failure, but at this point, there was really nothing at all being done to benefit the players. You could argue the event lab was something, but honestly, I would kind of compare that with the capitalism in terms of like expansion for things to vote on. Like in a lot of, especially local things in the US, you could actually go to places and voice your opinion and say, oh, I think that we should vote on this, and then maybe or maybe not your opinion or really listen to. That's kind of like Event Lab. Maybe or maybe not the thing that you make in Event Lab will be put in the recommendations. Maybe or maybe not what you make in Event Lab will even be allowed. A lot of stuff ended up getting banned. Granted, it was kind of more of an issue with delivery editor than it was Event Lab with stuff being banned, but even still, some stuff in Event Lab didn't exactly even make it to begin with. Not just does it get recommended, it doesn't even be able to be played whatsoever. Yeah, folks, some people ended up getting banned because of what they made even in the Event Lab with the props that were given to you by Forza, Playground Games, Microsoft, however you want to word that. All using the default props. Some people still ended up getting banned from that. So yeah, that wasn't the dandiest look. I'm not saying Event Lab was overall a bad idea. Something like allowing people to vote on various stuff in more local elections. Yeah, that can definitely work and be positive if it's run the correct way. But the people running it did not have that in mind whatsoever. Really, all that Event Lab was added is so that it can kind of look like a competitor to the Careers level design thing. I can't remember the exact name of it, but even the Career 2 had this, races created by the community. I think it might have literally just been called community events in the Career. And even farther back of Grand Theft Auto 5 with the cunning stunts, you could make the crazy tracks and stuff like that. So lo and behold, they needed a competitor for that. Here comes the Event Lab, and there was that. Good idea, and in some ways it worked. There were plenty of Event Lab levels that were great, but all things considered, bad execution, and really it was just kind of meant to get more sales, get more money, all that. Also, something throughout the entire game, too, that I guess in a way didn't really get a better or worse, but still definitely goes into the late stages of outright in-game capitalism is the Xbox Game Pass. This is the only way that I've played anything on Xbox. I have not bought a single Xbox game. So you could say that I got tons of advantage from it. And I guess depending on how you want to word it, sure, I did. But the way that I went about it is I used the Microsoft points for that. The way in which the Microsoft points are gained for the vast majority of it is putting in information. It's doing surveys, it's doing like weekly tasks in terms of logging into certain things or clicking certain like event things like a sponsorship thing or watch a video of a new video game coming out or something like that. That was probably at least 3/4 of the points being earned. And then some, while you had the Game Pass itself, you could earn points from playing various games and stuff like that too. But I would say at least 3/4 was them using your own data back to more of the in-game type capitalism, where you are the product, not necessarily what is being made. It's you. And I faked all that, frankly. I didn't put it into anything realistic. With the surveys that weren't just answering general questions like, did you get the answer objectively right? Like, some of the times there would be an objective right answer. If it was an opinion thing, I would literally just click the first thing every time, like A or whatever, however it was formatted. And in terms of like, one of the things is searching on the Bing browser, and that was before the AI spike. I would literally just hit. You had to do unique searches too, so it actually even time. I would actually even like keep track of it. So like the first search I ever did was literally just typing the letter that the keyboard was on by default, which I can't remember what the Xbox keyboard starts at, maybe F or something, I don't know. So then I would just type that again and again and again along that. And then eventually the field would be maxed out after many, many, maybe even like 100 characters or something like that. I don't know. So then I would just go to the next letter to the side and then continue it on like that, because each search had to be unique, but it was like something like 20 searches a day or something like that. I think it was. I haven't done it in a while because ultimately I ended up getting uh, scared with the credit card. The credit card that I had just wasn't accepted anymore. So then I had to do something that didn't require a credit card, and they just said completely no to that. Even though it was literally worded in what I got is it wouldn't require a credit card, it then still forced a credit card. So again, you are the product, which I never wanted to directly buy anything, so I would have very much preferred there not to be a credit card there. If it were up to me, I'd still be having the Game Pass by doing the Microsoft points, and I wouldn't have bought a single thing. But now, because the Microsoft points require a credit card, that's literally impossible. Now, unless I were to put a credit card on something that I don't want to buy anything on, thus to steal data. Even if it's not Microsoft directly stealing the data, it could get hacked, actually, or quote unquote hacked, meaning there's a company that Microsoft pays to quote unquote hack it, so then it doesn't look like Microsoft is the one stealing your data. It's that company stealing the data that they then give directly to Microsoft. And hell, maybe even Microsoft tells them how to steal the direct data they want. Who knows? But the point is that in a lot of ways, a lot of these hacks, I guarantee, are inside jobs. Not maybe it's not specifically Microsoft or whatever. Just in general, when it involves data hacking, yeah, a lot of times it's inside jobs, because usually in the terms of use or whatever, a lot of times it does say with like the direct company itself can't share your data, but that doesn't mean other companies that get it in quote unquote nefarious ways don't. So there's that, and then that directly ties with in-game capitalism, because that goes far beyond video games. That can go to pretty much anything in which your data is put into. So that's one of the ones. It's straightforward with that. And to end off, to me, the biggest thing that ultimately makes it the end game capitalism is to tie it to beginning. Forza Horizon doesn't really directly have ties with Forza Motorsport in terms of the development. They use the same car models and things like that. But generally speaking, the development is not meant to be hand in hand. I think some of the physics may carry over, or at least the engine, like the physics engine itself. But, lo and behold, even after Forza Horizon 5 was out for quite a while, there were no talks whatsoever of any correlation happening between Turn 10 and Playground Games. Even well after a year after Forza Motorsport 8, really, but they called it Motorsport, was out, there wasn't really any talks of that. But then, I think it was at some point last year, oh, the Forza Motorsport staff has been cut in half. Oh, look, around about the same time. Oh, wow. Forza Horizon staff goes up by a certain amount, not double or 150% or anything, because Horizon had more staff than Motorsport. But still, you can kind of see where that's going. It's the exchanging of monies around in the same parent company thing, like I've already talked about. I don't know if they specifically made it to where Forza Motorsport failed, but it might have been one of those things where whether it succeeded or failed, they were going to put less money on it, depending on how successful it was, and then just transfer that money over to Horizon. So arguably the biggest loss in all this is their original Forza. Forza Motorsport was the original one. Horizon was the spinoff. They killed the original just so the spinoff could make that tiny little bit more money. I guess you could argue that the original isn't technically killed. There's really been no announcement that there will never be another motorsport game ever again or anything, but that seems to be kind of what you can infer about the staffing and the money being put out to various places and such. So yeah, we're now to the point where it really is in game, to the point of, yeah, it's obvious the consumers are where the money is being made. It's not meant to make a good product. It's meant to get all the money possible out of the consumers, to the point of they were even kill parts of their own brand just to get that little bit more out of the consumers. I'm not even 100% sure. Like, the direct ties with Turn 10 and Horizon 6, but it was announced directly that Turn 10 was working with Playground Games on Horizon 6. And again, maybe even the next video on my channel will be about Horizon 6, or lack thereof, not getting it. So yeah, again, I'm sure there's a lot of specific stuff I'm forgetting about 5. And I mean, all things considered, it's like the old saying goes, capitalism probably all in all is the best system at the moment. Even in this late stage, arguably even in game, where it's screwing over the consumers, there's so much worse out there, and even the other systems themselves are getting worse too. There's really no system of governing that seems to be improving on whatever level you want to put to it. And arguably, you could say that about video games as a whole, too. Whatever mainstream video game you want to put there, genre or company, whatever it may be, there's no true improvement. So, in a way, you could say Horizon 5 is just a symptom of the entire product, or how are you going to word it? Nonetheless, whether it's a symptom or the disease itself, it's still most certainly ain't worth the yeehaw. And it's the best of, like, modern racing game. In terms of the game itself, like, not counting the factors around it, how it's monetized, all things like that, I still pretty much stick to my initial review, and where, unlike the best case circumstances, when online is working well, and when you're focusing on things that aren't paid DLCs or whatever, it's about a 9 out of 10, with the main gripes being the story. I'm not one to care much about story in a racing game anyway, given that I mainly play Gran Turismo, so that's not that big a deal to me. Being lackluster, some of the customization being lackluster, all that. But overall, it's still a 9 out of 10 for the game itself. The ideas were great to begin with in the early Forzas, and then they've been used and used to the point arguably optimized, though, so The execution of the game itself is even amazing. But the follow through, like the end game, the impact of what they ended up doing with the monetization and scamming the people out of their own actual information, to the point where I think nowadays it costs $30 for the Xbox Ultimate, which is pretty much what you need in order to both play Horizon 5 or 6 and or online. $30 a month. So that's way more of doing the Microsoft points if you want to even do that, with now required a credit card, even if you don't want to pay for anything, even if your goal was to only ever use the points. Yeah, that's not the best look. There's a lot of things you can rate extremely highly of, like, even the modern United States or whatever you want to put there. There's a genuine argument that the United States is still the most powerful country ever. There's a genuine argument that Horizon 5 is the best Forza ever. And there's probably even a few people out there that would put it as the best racing game ever. But the way in which it's screwed over its own player base, the way in which some countries have screwed over their own citizens, however you want to look at that, is far worse than most people are even willing to admit. I know this video is controversial, but all things considered, I'm not going to be getting Horizon 6, so it's not like it's going to directly affect me, I guess.